Hey everyone, welcome back and welcome to Hallelujah Babes. How's everybody's week going? Tara, how are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling great. I'm so happy to be here and chit chat with you.
I love our girl talk.
I know, it's fun, huh?
Yeah, so tell me, let's fill you in. What has your week been like? What is
Well,
today? Today's Monday for us recording out there, but what's been going on in the last 7 days since we've recorded last?
just a lot of work and school. I'm almost done with school. I'll be graduating next month in April, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, yesterday me and my daughter went to church, and it was really nice. We had a I cry a lot. Like during the worship, it just gets me every time. And I'm over here and I'm like, you know what? I need to bring some tissues in my purse because I'm like, is my eyelash coming up?
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, the worship really gets me every time. And it's something that I've never experienced before. Like when I first got on this journey with walking with Christ, I didn't understand worship.
Okay.
I didn't. I was like, I go to church and I'd wait and I'd watch everyone around me, and people were really, worshiping. And, some people would raise their hands, and, it's the songs that are playing and whatnot. And I kind of, to be honest, like I was so new at it. And I just didn't get it. I didn't feel it. Right. And so I was like, just watching around, just waiting for it to be over because I really want to hear the word, because I'm learning. Like, this is so interesting to me to learn about the Bible. So that's, what I'm here for, right? So I go and I'm waiting, and I'll never forget. It was like, maybe I'm going to say like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, I went to a new church because I was trying out different churches.
Yeah.
So I went with a friend from school. She was like, well, you got to try this one. So I went over to Sandals. So we tried that one. And I'll never forget the moment that the Holy Spirit hit me with worship. Like, I was sitting there, I'm listening, I'm watching everyone around me get into it. And all of a sudden, the words of the music, the song lyrics, they just kind of like really resonated for the first time. And I was really taking them in. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I got overwhelmed. And then I started praying, right? I closed my eyes and I started praying. And then I started tearing up. And I'm like literally sitting there just listening to these words and affirming these words that are going on in the song. And I'm just like pulling it into my heart. And then you can't help but cry. I mean, for me at least, I cannot help getting through worship now without crying.
Yeah.
Because it is so touching and it's so beautiful. And these words that they're saying, it's reminders of how beautiful Jesus is, how beautiful, and how like the gift that he's given us. It is just so powerful to me. And it resonates through my whole being. And now, no one's ever told me about worship. No one's ever sat me down and like, well, this is what worship is, and the Bible references worship so much, and that, we should be worshiping and just loving and really praising the Lord, and with song and stuff like that. And and I never knew that. And
So do you feel like when you're worshiping and you're emotional, it's because of joy?
Yeah,
Tears? It's not pain?
Yes. No sadness. It's well, there is sadness sometimes, because when I think about, like, there's certain songs that'll talk about, like, him dying on the cross, and like, but it's more of like, I am in reverence and I am on my knees to the Lord, and I'm thanking, and I'm profusely thanking him, and I'm repeating what these words are saying, and I'm feeling them. Do you understand?
Yeah,
like I'm
totally.
worshiping
Well, I
him.
mean, I think music in general, I feel like definitely, I mean, Satan is the king of music, right?
Yeah.
So I do believe that music is so moving, right? I mean, obviously, and it can impact you in so many ways, good ways and bad ways, right? So, I mean, I know for me, like when you're going through a hard, heavy season, you put on those sad songs and you're just like, it makes it so much more sad, because you feel it so much. So music is such a feeling for sure. However, I have to say, I almost find worship, and I want to say this, in church, almost, I'm going to go with the word awkward. Like, I am definitely, I like worshiping God. I guess I want to say privately, but kind of almost more of like private. Like, when I go to church, there are definitely certain songs that move me for sure. And I think it's when I know the song, right?
Yeah.
But I've kind of I think that a lot of people probably can relate that when you're standing in church, kind of also just kind of ready for the sermon to start, and sometimes you're just like, okay, how many songs are we going to sing here?
Right. That's where
you're just like, okay, like, next, are we ready yet? A, I'm tired of standing, B, it's like, you're not really in that worship. And I think it's because, for me, at least when I ask, because I think it's just, I'm private, I'm a more introverted person. So I'm not super extroverted. I'm not super just like, I don't sing well. Right. And so, I will sing along when I know the song. And there's definitely been times in church that I remember. And for me, that's why I asked about pain, is when you're going through a heavy season where, I feel like God, you can feel him and it's moving, and it just, and I think that it's that emotions of just how heavy sometimes life can be. And when he says, just like, lay it at my feet, so there are definitely times and songs that I feel moved and I feel emotional that have brought me to tears for sure too. Not anytime recently, but maybe more like when Jimmy had passed away, and just, I was like just really emotional. I remember just, really wanting to get rid of all that pain that we carry as like human beings. And so for me, whenever I get emotional for worship, I want to say it's not almost joyful for me. It's more painful.
Okay.
And it doesn't always happen. I would say 9 out of 10 times I would rather just go up to church and literally come late and be like, okay, I'm going to skip the worship part. Let me just sit down right when they start the sermon to, get in. I want to hear God's word, and then I want to get on with my day.
Right. Yeah. Like my niece, she's been going with me, and she's a very new Christian also, and she's expressed to me that it's just, she's not there, with the worship yet, and she doesn't quite understand, and that's fine. I told her, you'll get there if you want, but it's just, I told her, she goes, I don't know, I just, I look over and I see you, and you're closing your eyes and you have your hands up. I raise my hands. I am truly feeling this Holy Spirit, and I am just in it, man. And she sees that, and she's like, I just don't think I could do that. She's very shy.
Yep.
And I said, listen, it's not, I promise you, no one's looking at you. I said, the best thing you need to know is that nobody's watching you, because they're all in there. It's that one time between you and God. It's that quiet, private time, and you're talking to him, and you're affirming him, and you're worshiping him, and it's just you and him in that moment. And that's all, like when I'm worshiping, that's all I feel, is just, I am coming to God at his feet, and I don't see anyone around me. I'm not looking at the guy next to me, and he's not looking at me, because he's right in front of the Lord at his feet, worshiping, and maybe saying prayers in his head and praising, thank you, Jesus, I love you, all that. And so I told her, I said, maybe that can kind of help you.
Yeah. Well, do you think that, because I would say, I don't think for me at all, and again, I'm obviously older than she is, but I don't think it's about me caring what other people are thinking, or that anybody's even looking at me. That's not it at all. It's just, I guess, when you're introverted and it's an intimate thing, right?
Yeah.
Is, to me, I feel like it's more of a private thing for me,
right? You personally you're saying you would rather do that in a private place,
which I
at
do.
Home and in your car, 100%. Or whatever.
Yeah, just this week, I had a really rough week, and just a lot of decisions going on. My landlord called me and said that she wants to sell the house that I'm in, and just I'm like, oh my gosh, Larry, like just always something, right? And so just, what is the next step in life? And when you're living on God's path and, truly surrendered to him, you would think that it's the path that's like, oh, very clear path. I can see, so far, and I know exactly what you're doing and what you're going. But God doesn't give us that, because he wants us to walk by faith, not by sight, right? So if we knew, and it was really easy to see God's path, we'd all walk on it.
Right.
But we don't see it. And so it's that
Scary.
it's so scary
So
and
scary.
it's so stressful.
I know.
And it is like a 24 this last week. And it's just, again, when there's certain weeks that are better than others, but last week for me was just a hard week. And we were actually talking on the phone, and when you were like, you should turn on worship music, I'm like, that's a good idea. So in moments like that, I was actually more of like frustrated with God, to be honest. I was just like, okay, Lord, seriously? Like, I settled in. My goal was to stay here for, 2 years, just get everything stabilized, keep working on this business that I'm building, and just get stabilized for a little bit, right? Like, I don't like to move. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I love the house that I'm in. Everything in my life, I love the place that I'm in. But then when God moves you, it's like, oh, nope, we're going to change that plan up, and I'm like, seriously? So I feel like, it's listening to that plan. I'm not even listening to the plan. It's listening and being obedient to know that even though I have no idea where to go, like, 'cause I probably, talk about not staying in California forever. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, like, now would be the time, right? That if I'm going to jump, like, I'm going to jump.
Yeah.
And so, just open up the doors. Like, if it's meant for me, make it easy. If it's not, it's not. But because as humans, like, we want safety and security and clarity. And so, I was so frustrated because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I just want to settle in, Lord. And he just keeps moving me, and he keeps molding me, and he keeps pushing me. And so, it gets frustrating because I'm like, I'm tired of being molded and pushed and frustrated and turned and this and that, I'm tired. And it's that making of the diamond, it's built under pressure. And I always feel like I know that God has this huge plan for my life. I just feel it in my soul, but he's like, well, you're still not there yet. And I'm still going to mold you and develop you. You have a ways to grow and go, and just keep trusting me in his plan. And so I'm like, okay, like, I'm trusting, but turning on music, even when I was pissed off, honestly, and just like frustrated and angry, I was like, it really does make you emotional. And I was crying in my car. I was crying again, just out of frustration, I think, but it allows you to release that just frustration and emotion. And even though I was angry, I was like, okay, Lord, I'm sorry for getting so mad and upset.
Right?
I know that your plan is the plan, but it's just like, my goodness gracious. Like, I just want to see it. I want to know it. I want to have it be very clear. And he doesn't work that way. And every time I read anything and, dig into like, okay, like, how do you know the purpose for your life? Like, how do you know what path to take? How do you know which direction to go? I feel like God is always like, you don't. Nobody knows anything besides the fact of, in this moment, in this day, in this time, I am blessed. I am healthy. My kids are blessed. We are really good. All I keep focusing on is the what if. Well, what if this happens? And what if I have nowhere to go? And what if? And God's like, no. Right now, today, have I ever forsaken you, Loni? Since all of your life, have I ever forsaken you? Have I ever turned my back on you? And the answer to that is no. I haven't. He hasn't. He's been there every step of the way. So worship definitely, I think, is a good way to pull yourself out of and into him, out of that Satan attack is what I call it, right? Like, he was attacking me like crazy the last couple of days, and just like the fear and the stress and the chaos and the unknown, and just so many decisions, like life-changing decisions for me and my kids, to pick up and move across the country. Is that what's right for us and our family? And the question that God says is, you will know my path. But it is a day to day to day to day, one step in front of the other, being obedient, following. And that is not always easy to do. So turning up my music when you told me to do that, and literally singing and crying and just being frustrated, it really did help.
I told you.
Yeah, it did.
So I do feel, I'm very strong. I have a very strong feeling about, spiritual battles that are going on around us, and that, there's all these spirits of fear and anxiety and, just hopelessness and doubt, anger, lust. All these things are spirits. And, I will say that what I do know is that those spirits are not of God, obviously, and they hate worship music. they hate it.
Yeah.
So that's why I told you when we talked and you were like really, you were very anxious and not knowing. And I said, just let's pray. I prayed for you. Then I said, let's get out. I want you to put on some worship music, and I want you to just really sit in that, right? And feel it and worship God. And that's why I wanted to find out how that went, because I do know that those spirits cannot be around it. They cannot be around worship. They cannot be around the light. And so when you play that music, if you notice, it completely shifts your mood. It completely shifts that fear and anxiety. Did it do that?
It did, yeah. I want to say it shifted it differently. I want to say, did it make it less, like, I don't want to know if it was frustrating or heavy or sad or whatever the emotion was, but it shifted it to the point to where you don't feel alone.
Right.
And you don't feel like you have to have all the answers right in this second.
It
right?
reminded you.
It reminded me
of
the Lord and faith, right?
There
Of
you
just
go.
like, okay, like, Lord, like, again, I'm frustrated and I'm like, seriously, like, I was not looking to have to, figure all of this out right now today. I have so much other stuff going on. But that also too is, a lot of times we think we know the plan. We think that we know what we should be doing. And it's very hard to differentiate voices, right? Is that my voice? Is that God's voice? Is that my knowing? Is that God's knowing? And we live in a chaotic world of just constantly busy and chaos and going, that, it gets unclear sometimes on what is the right direction to go in my life. And, that is where I've been for 9 months of just, I feel like God has opened doors and closed them, opened doors and closed them. And every single door that he's opened, it's grown me. It's taken me on one step closer. But every time that closes, I'm like, seriously, Lord? Like, what? Like, why do I keep hitting these closed doors? And it gets, again, frustrating, but also it reminds me of, like, again, going through sales trainings, and they always say, the whole point of looking for no's, like when you go to ask somebody to buy your service or do your service, you're like, let's look for 100 no's, because you get really used to, like, the no's, but the no's are what give you the skill. They perfect you. They help you with your pitch, and they get you so many closer to the yeses, where I feel like God's kind of the same thing, is he uses these paths and these doors and these no's to teach us, to strengthen us, to mold us, to help us lean into him, to learn. And the more no's that we get, the closer we're getting to his yes, right? And so I try to look at it that way, as in, like, okay, like, I'm an action taker for sure. Like, it's really hard for me to sit still, and you know that. Like, I'm a survivor, and I feel like I've been in survival mode for a long time. And so I'm always running, like, out of fear. And, I think that is the biggest lesson that God is teaching me, because he keeps stopping me. Stop running.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. And that's the lesson that we learn from him, is that, he will allow us to repeat the same things over and over and over again until we learn.
Yep.
And, he'll just keep putting it in front of us. So, life definitely, as you know, I mean, there's definitely ups and downs, and it's, walking the path of God is not always going to be perfect and clear, but it definitely helps so much in the sense of give you that peace of knowing you're not alone, and knowing that there is a plan and a path that is the perfect one for us. It's just, we just have to trust and be obedient and really have faith to take one step in front of the other, and to know that God has got us. Yeah,
it's so true. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that we all struggle with that. I think that's a big one, just having faith of being like, we're going to be okay. I think everyone suffers from this anxiety of not knowing, and it's hard, it's hard out there. And God said it wasn't going to be easy. I mean, we've been plagued with sin. I think about that a lot, actually, lately. Like, being plagued with sin it's just terrible. We always say, oh,
Explain
life's
to people
not
what
easy.
that means. Yeah.
Life's not easy. Life's not easy. That's like such a thing to say. Like, oh, life's hard, and it is.
Yeah.
It really
that's
is.
Because it's the truth.
Let's be honest. But, like, so I've been, studying in the Bible, and learning a lot about the beginning and stuff. And it's interesting because God made it perfect. He made us perfect. He made basically like utopia. And it was supposed to just be beautiful and no sickness, no pain, no malice, no anger. And when sin stepped into the garden with Eve eating the forbidden fruit, passing it to Adam, that was, as we know, the first act of disobedience, which then spiraled down. And it's just like, and that's such a pivotal point in the Bible where it's just like, this is where death comes into play and sin. And now we're plagued with this horrible thing, and that's why we suffer in this life. That's why we have pain. That's why we have, like, your husband died of cancer, and the pain that you and your family feel, and the pain that he went through. And it's just, it is terrible. And that's all because of sin in the Garden of Eden. That
Would
first
you
sin.
have wished that God would have given us no free will?
I don't know. I mean, gosh, that's a good question, because free will is great. I mean, I would hate to be under someone's like love spell and just be like a robot.
Well, then would that even be love, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. It's not. But dang it, I get so mad when I think about Adam and Eve. I'm like, you guys messed it up for us.
Well, if it wasn't Adam and Eve, it would have been the next person.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, someone would have come along.
First of all, I mean,
absolutely.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, they were the very first humans to go to show that. And this is my interpretation of it. And again, I know I'm very non-knowledgeable about the Bible, so this is just my own interpretation of my brain, how I think about it. But Adam and Eve obviously were the first ones put into this world that God had given us the free will, when he had created the earth. But I guess, and this is where I'm asking to you, like, okay, so he obviously cast Satan down, right? Kicked him out of heaven because Satan wanted to become God.
Right.
And he took all of the fallen angels with him. Well, they're here on earth. So then God creates earth where Satan's at, knowing that, so he built this perfect utopia land, if that's what it says in the Bible. I don't know. But he built it on a fallen, sinful world, because we built it around Satan. So knowing that Satan is a deceiver, right, and good at coming in and confusing us and truly manipulating, right? Like, no, if you eat the apple, it's going to make you like God. Like, you're going to be powerful, and you're going to, temptation is so real that, I mean, they're just human beings like you and I. I mean, every single day we fall short.
Every day.
So, I mean, to, everyone like, oh, put the blame on Eve is like, well, she's just like you and I because she was human, born into a sinful world. Maybe she was the first sinner, but is it because she was born with the same sinful nature?
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, because like it was perfect in the garden. Yeah. Like, they were born into perfect. Well, they weren't born, but God created them into perfection. So
yeah, I never actually thought about that. Is they kind of skipped the baby phase.
Yeah, they did.
Isn't that weird?
Right? Boom.
It's so funny to think about things that I never think about. Honestly, I think we should have a pastor guest on one of these days.
Totally.
Who's really good, honestly, is my Aunt Bonnie. We should have her come on. She is probably one of the most knowledgeable humans that I know when it comes to just the Bible and just she does a lot of end time studies, which would be kind of interesting because everybody talks about this being the end time. But it's really, even like the beginning of time, there's so much that, number one, I don't understand, right? I really don't understand because I haven't dug in and studied enough. I've heard from just going to church and growing up in a Christian private school, all the stories.
Right.
But it's hard to, now that you get older and you're really interested in learning, like I want to learn, like I want to understand.
Yep.
And so it's super interesting to me.
It's great.
And that's all learning. I love to learn.
It's crazy. I mean, me and you, we were so not wanting to learn when we were 15 years old.
Oh gosh.
Remember, I'll never forget, like, because me and Loni, for the listeners, I don't know if you picked up on this before, but we were besties since ninth grade.
Yeah.
And we both were just like, ugh, like school, ugh. And so we'd sit next to each other in class. And I'll never forget, Lonnie, one time I was going to cheat off of your test.
Like, that's probably a bad idea.
Oh, bad idea. No, but this is so stupid. You put your name at the top, L-O-N-I. I'm cheat. I go, L-O-N-I.
Shut up.
I was like, oops, I got to erase that real quick. That's how bad I was.
Yeah,
You're like, okay,
at
least put your first name on there, not my name.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds like something that you would have done.
We didn't pay attention at all.
No,
I mean,
we really didn't. I got by school by the brick of my teeth because I did the bare minimum.
Yeah, me too.
Like I did what I had to do to pass.
Yeah.
I had no desire to learn.
Nope.
And it's so funny how, I look at my daughter now, my youngest daughter, she hates school. And so I was so that way. Like, it's like always doing the bare minimum, trying to get done like as fast as you can.
Yep.
But I want to say when I was in my 20s that's when that changed. Like, I think I was like 26. I kind of had this like just time in my life where I was like wanting to grow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember picking up like books and just really wanting to learn and start reading. And that's kind of when I started, I would say, with my personal development education.
Okay.
And so never was I really interested in studying. I'm not about God. I'm not saying that. I think that, again, especially in the New Age personal growth development world, a lot of it is incorporated around God per se, but not the God of the Bible, right? And so more about us, self-God.
Yeah.
And
Your
so,
own God,
now that I'm older, it's just, I think history is so interesting. And just, knowing just the lineage of like our families and our friends and just where things came from. I mean, all the way back to Adam and Eve in the Bible times, like just learning to understand it all is interesting.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm totally into it. And that's new for me.
Totally.
I know. I'm like excited to go to church every Sunday. I'm like, I'm there with my bells and whistles on, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Get there early, get a coffee, get a seat. I am ready. I love it. And I remember saying when I was younger, because we were forced to go to church. I don't know about if you were I was, but I remember saying, do people actually want to be here? Because I mean, for me, it was a forced thing, you know? And I talked about that previously, but I remember literally saying I don't know who, I was like, so let me get this right. Like all these adults, like they actually, like they want to be here? Like they willingly come here, or do they come because they have to? And like that's like what the Bible says is to like, do the church thing.
Exactly.
And so like, is this just like another rule that we have to follow? And so I'm really glad that I'm past that mindset, and now it's like I get it. Like the light bulb kicked in, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I want to, because I'm genuinely curious and I want to learn as much as I can about the Bible. And no better way to do that than go to church. I mean, they literally spell it out for you and then they break it down. So that's
exactly.
It's great.
It is great. Honestly.
I never thought the day would come that Tarrah would want to be in church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You know what I used to do on Sundays?
What?
We called it Sunday Funday.
Oh.
We'd wake up and we'd start drinking, and we'd Uber, over to the local bar. We'd do brunch.
Yeah.
And just more alcohol, do some tequila shots, and and then it was wild. We just run around town.
Yeah.
All over, and then I'd feel like crap on Monday, and really just the rest of the week,
Yeah, and then do it all over again.
It was just terrible. It was just like this perpetual cycle of.
So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about being terrible, because I have to say that was, I want to say I didn't really do Sunday Funday per se, but I definitely, if I could, I would have,
Yeah.
But what about that was terrible? Because I think that's.
I'll tell you, from my experience, like when I look back at it, it was so empty. It was like, going out and just like wanting to go and just rage all day on a Sunday and drink and get trashed, with your group of friends.
So was that what it was about for you?
Yes,
was about
that's what Sunday Funday was.
Yeah, so it
called.
was about getting trashed. It wasn't about like you weren't looking to meet a man, or like you weren't looking to go.
I mean,
like what was the purpose of wanting to be out there raging?
Just because we liked to party.
Yeah,
Me and my friend group, we liked to party, and it was Sunday.
Yeah.
It was Sunday Funday. Hello.
Yeah.
You know,
We had to do it.
I mean,
Yeah.
and if it was hot, we go to the pool and we do it, music up, and just drink all day, and you know, just some debauchery, and it was just, it was a party day for us, and it was fun in the moment, but it brought a lot of anxiety, not peace, you know, just alcohol abuse like that is not healthy. So you don't feel very well. The next morning, come Monday, I got to go to work, you know, and so does everybody else. And we would be group texting each other like, oh my God, I'm going to die, you know, as I'm trying to work and they're trying to work. And it was every single Monday, come Tuesday, even Wednesday, we'd be feeling like crap all the way up until Wednesday. And then we do it again on the weekend, you know, and it was just, I don't know, it's not very fulfilling, you know, it's just not. People think it is, but it's not.
Do you think people think it's fulfilling, or do you think people think that because how I would look at it is for me, my experience is I never felt that it fulfilled me per se, like long term, but it definitely is a temporary feeling, right?
Yeah.
A temporal, is that the word?
Temporal, yeah.
It's a temporal in the moment fulfilling because it's that fun, it's that release, it's that tap out, it's that, it's almost like it's like it's fake.
You're totally checking out from your real life of responsibilities, of bills, and, you know, whatever you're going through in life, because we all are. We're all going through something. And so, but that's the misconception, is that, you know, you're tapping out for that moment, for that day. And then, but real life, when you sober up and you wake up Monday morning with a pounding headache and no energy, you feel even worse. And you feel even worse about the things that are still there, the real life issues.
Exactly.
It's even worse. It's not better. And you just made it worse. The anxiety the next day, and we call it hangxiety, you know, the hangover anxiety. So and that was my life for all these my adult years, and I don't do that anymore, and it's so wonderful because I just wake up feeling refreshed, and I you know, get in the Word every morning and talk to God, and it's beautiful. And I've been crying a lot lately, and not out of sadness, but just like joy. I'm so touched. I'm so touched by the Lord. I wonder, I don't know if this is like a phase. Because like I am a new Christian. And so I don't know if this is one of those just like, oh, this is just a phase, and then like maybe later it'll like calm down, or if this is just always going to be who I am. But I'm very, very emotional about the Spirit and like Jesus. And I'm so like happy, and I'm so thankful. And I just am so in love with Him. I'm like enamored. Yeah. And that's beautiful, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
What a great feeling.
Yeah.
And just, I'm in like awe of this, of this whole journey, and like Jesus, and just like, oh man, I love you, Lord. Thank you. I wake up in the morning just with a smile on my face. I see the sun coming out of my window, and I say, that's you, Lord. That's you. Come in. You bring light. You know, He brought light. He woke me up today. Like I just look differently at life.
Totally. Oh. Yeah. Which I think is so, I don't want to say inspiring, but also it's just transformational, you know, and it's so hard to even describe. You know, I was reading something the other day, and it said, growing people change. And I thought that was such like a true testament, because I think you see that with God, is that when you grow in the Lord, it just changes you. And it's not even like you can describe how or why, because again, you know, you go back to the life that we had lived for so many years of just, you know, all about just partying and fun and drinking, and thinking that was what was bringing contentment and fulfillment. And it wasn't to bring fulfillment, it was to bring numbing, right, to the pain that we all carry. And just like it's like we don't know how to enjoy our lives. So we have to check out from our lives to go have fun.
That's right.
And so, you know, it's in that, I've always seen that. I've always felt like I've always felt that way. but never really knew how to get out of it, because I really was like, well, I don't know how else to have fun. I don't know how else to have fun, right? Like that is my fun. And, everybody used to always call me PPL, Party Pooper Lonnie, because I was always like, I don't want to use the word uptight, but it was like, I just couldn't get on the same page of just like feeling okay with it, right? It just like, it always bothered my soul. And then whenever I would drink, it wouldn't anymore, right? So I was like, oh, I am much more fun when I'm drinking. I'm much more laid back. I'm much more just go with the flow, and it was just a lot more lax in the spirits, like what we call it, and so it was just, my spirit was like, okay, well, now that you've numbed me out and washed me away with all these alcohol drinks, you go ahead and do it without me. But that conviction, as soon as it weared off, was right back. And then you feel that conviction. And then you're just like, okay, I feel bad about what I did. And then it's now adding into that bucket of not loving who you are, right? Yeah. And then you're just like avoiding the pains that we have, and not, looking in the mirror and saying like, Lord, like, what is it that I'm trying to numb? Like, why can't I enjoy life without these substances, without this like dopamine hit of whatever it is that we're abusing? Take that away, because that is just not how God designed it for us. Like, not that your life is always going to be this high dopamine hit and it's always going to be fun and exciting, but you shouldn't have to feel like you have to escape your reality in order to enjoy your life, and to be able to just honestly check out, in order to enjoy it. Like, what are you checking out from? Right. And I think that is why I was on the growth lesson for so many years of personal development. Like, what am I checking out from? Like, why can't I enjoy my life? What is wrong with me? Yeah. And it all circled back to not living connected with God. Right. I was literally looking to get fulfillment from my works and my actions and my personal development and my accomplishes. And, God's like, I don't care if you're the gardener or if you're the CEO of the biggest company in the world, your value doesn't change within me. That's right. Right? Your value doesn't change. Yep. So as humans, regardless of what you've accomplished and your skills and all this, your value doesn't change within God's eyes of who you are and what you become. Of course, I'm a big believer. I love, successful people and driven people and people that are contributing and helping society and creating something great. Yeah, of course, be rewarded for that. But if you're only getting your value from that, you're going to be truly, I want to say that, never good enough feeling, right? I don't care if you're the CEO of the biggest company in the world. If you're not connected with God and He's giving you your value and He's giving you that feeling of being enough, no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. Right. And I think that is what that cycle that I chased for so many years was, okay, I have to do so many things in order to earn my value, to earn my love. I worked so hard and I grew so much. And it was just like, no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. Being a mom, that's just not good enough, right? I can't only be a mom. I have to be a mom, but I also have to be a business entrepreneur. I also have to do this. It was like, I always put so much pressure on myself, searching to be this amazing human being so I could feel like I was lovable, like I was valuable, like I had to work so hard for it. And God was like, no, like that's not how it works. Like, you were born in the image of me. You are my daughter. I love you right now as you are who you are. And you don't have to work so hard to become enough. You are enough. I created you enough. Yes, do I have a purpose for your life? Of course. Does that look like serving and becoming the better version of yourself and bringing people to Him and bringing the light to the world and encouraging people that as of today, right now, you are loved, you are cherished, you are enough, you are forgiven, you are, no matter what happened, you are not your past? Like, yes, I think that God wants His people to remind people that we are enough right now. And we can search all the personal development, all of the growth, all of the energies, all of the reikis, all of the everything, trying to see what our fulfillment in life is, but it's Jesus.
Right. And I think everybody that is, I personally know people that do all that stuff, searching the new age, and they're not fulfilled. they're scrambling.
Totally.
They're just, I mean, barely keeping their head above water. And that was me too, you know, because I did all that stuff. But I want to share this really sweet story. I lived in my house for 19 years, and I'm still there. I have this neighbor. Her name is Mary, and she's like in her 70s, and she is a godly woman. She's a beautiful Christian woman, right? She's a widow, and I live right next door to her, and I raged at that house. I mean, that's 19 years, you know, that I've been there. And I have drove this woman crazy. I couldn't stand her. And she was she was at her wit's end, but I'll tell you, she never called the police on me. She never, you know, she would just like kind of give me a scolding here and there when she'd see me, like, Tarrah, you know, you guys are all coming back from the bar at 2 a.m. And like, I'm trying to sleep. My family's visiting, you know, and I'd be like, okay, whatever, lady. You know, I was very like, I didn't like her. And I always like, oh, great, there's Mary, you know, she's gonna
Hi.
Yeah. And so, but she always would tell me, you know, she'd always say, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. And I'd get mad, you know, just like, shut up, lady.
Yeah.
And so when I gave my life to Christ a few months ago, of course, she was one of the first people I was so excited to tell. And we cried together and stuff. And we prayed. Now she's my little buddy. And the other night, was it Saturday night, me and a friend went to go see The Last Supper, you know, that movie, The Last Supper, that came out. And I got dropped off at home, and she was out getting her mail. And I jumped out of the car, and I was like, Mary, you know, I gave her a hug, and she's like, how's it going? You know, what's going on? Because I'm hardly ever home. I'm running from school to work to school. And so I just was telling her about the friend that I had went to the movies with. He was he'd known God, but he was not living, you know, God's path, and he was just very broken. And I, you know, shared my testimony with him, and he has, since then, it's been maybe like a month or two, he's completely surrendered his life to Christ as well. And so and we share like little reels and stuff, and we just share scripture with each other, and it's really beautiful to see God changing his life. Like, he is literally becoming a different person. Like, he was so angry and abrasive and just a grump and just hurt. You could see a very hurt man in this guy, and he's lightening, he's softening, he's feeling the Lord, you know, and he's living it, and it's beautiful. And so I came out, and I hugged Mary, and I was like, Mary, I just started bawling. I told you, I'm emotional over the Lord right now. I'm really feeling God. So I was like, Mary, I was like, thank you so much. And I'm like bawling in her arms. She's holding me. Aww. And I was like, thank you for never stop praying for me. Thank you for not giving up on me. Yeah. You know, it's because of her like prayers, and, you know, other people that have been praying for me, that have come out and said, I've been still praying for you all these years. I knew that you were a good person and you're a beautiful soul, but like, you were missing Jesus, you know? And like, that's what these people that have been, they continued all the years praying. And I was just crying. I'm like, thank you, like, for not giving up on me. Cause I was a little brat next door to her, you know? So disrespectful, just blasting my music, you know, people over, we'd be drunk, you know, just out of control. And she could have just, you know, called the police and just, you know, made a scene for me, but she never did. She just kept praying. Wow. And now, like, we have this together that we can just talk about God, and I can ask her questions because she knows a lot. I mean, she's got saved when she was in her 20s, and she's in her 70s. So she's retired, so she's at home. She goes to church and Bible study, and she is in the Word. So it's really nice to have someone that I can really, you know, get a lot of questions answered.
Of course,
stuff.
yeah.
So, but isn't that sweet?
That's such a cool
What a
story,
great
honestly.
story,
Yeah,
huh?
and the power of prayer, man. Because
yes.
I always feel like, honestly, my mom and her sisters. They're all prayer warriors, and my mom always says, she's like, I've been praying for you to rescue out of the environment that I was in for. She's like, for so long, Loni. She's like, for 20 plus years, and so she is just so grateful to see God working in my life too. And it's just prayer works, and we think that, God answers our prayers immediately. And, as your neighbor knows, probably for 19 years of praying for somebody, for God to then move, that, again, if you find yourself, and this even goes back to just that trust and that faith of just life, if you feel like you've been praying for God to answer, and you've been praying for clarity, and you've been praying and praying and praying, you feel like you're just not being heard and that God is not answering, it's that faith and that trust to know that our timing is not always his timing.
Yep.
And that's the most frustrating part.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, God, ready, right now, and he's just like, trust me. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm being very trustworthy, but I want to know now. I want results now. I want answers now. And there's things that we pray for that you think that, okay, I prayed with all my heart and might on my knees, surrendering, God, please heal this. And it doesn't happen. And you're just like, okay, well, then it didn't work. And God's like, trust me. Mm-hmm. Our timing is not his timing. Don't stop. So if you find yourself with somebody that you are praying for and there's not things changing, don't stop praying. If you find yourself in a season of just uncertainty and not knowing where to go or what path to take or how to move forward, just keep praying and keep trusting and knowing that one step in front of the other. Enjoy the moment you're in right now and be grateful for where you're at right now. That was a lesson I learned last week. Lord, I am blessed today. I am okay today. My children are healthy. We are safe. We are good today. And every other day to this point, you've taken care of me and sustained me. I trust and know that you're going to continue to do that for me. Even if I don't know how and I don't know when and I don't see it, I know and believe that you have a plan and your plan is the perfect plan. And I trust. And one day one day at a time and one moment at a time, and just give it to him and take that pressure off of just having to, weigh the weight of the world and just the unknown of what the future looks like, and just trust and know that you're going to be okay. So
I agree.
Well, that was a great podcast today. I love coming on here and just having girl talk with you and sharing Jesus and truly.
And it's like on the fly. We don't even rehearse this.
Nothing. Yeah. We didn't know what we're going to talk about.
We don't. We just let's wing it, because we have great conversations every time we hang out and talk. That's the reason we decided to do this. We're like, you know what? We need to bring this to a podcast because it could really be uplifting.
Exactly.
People.
Yeah. And like we said, again, we definitely are not Bible scholars. We are definitely not the know-it-all. We're new, we're not perfect, and we're growing in Jesus every day. Yep. And the point of this podcast is just take you along the ride. And we both say, again, in 30 days from now, we could both be like, oh my gosh, we cannot believe we said that out loud.
Right.
But as of today, where we're at today, this is our journey and this is our knowledge and this is what we know and this is what we've experienced. And we're just taking you along for the ride. So don't act like we know it all. We're just being truthful, genuine, and vulnerable, and just kind of sharing our struggles and our paths and our knowledge that we've learned to this point with you. So we hope that you guys are enjoying. We definitely appreciate all of the love. And if you guys liked this episode, please, if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends, we would really, really appreciate that. So
that'd be great. All right.
Have a great day. I like it.
Good.
What time is it? I'm stressing on time.
How long did we do?
I'm looking right